So we are at our last and final agenda item for the day. It takes a village, mindset frames perspective, with our presenter, Chyna Figeroa-Dixon. Chyna Figeroa-Dixon is a Champaign native, single mother, and healthcare worker. Chyna began community organizing the summer of 2025 following fatal shootings in Garden Hills. Chyna collaborated with professional international basketball player James Kennedy II, also a Champaign native, for a free pop-up basketball clinic in Douglas Park, and hosted a series of meetings connecting families and programming in our neighborhoods. Chyna commonly refers to herself as a bridge to resources in the community, lacking advertising to serve those in dire need, or as the voice to advocate for those who don't know when, how, or where to start. In addition, Chyna has joined the local politics realm recently as she will be appointed to County Board District 6. She is also on the ballot for the 4-year term set this November. Chyna plans to become the face of change that politics doesn't have one yet, but one goal, and that is liberty and justice for all. Please help me in welcoming Chyna Figeroa-Dixon.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to just move this because I know that this will interfere with the other mic. Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I have to give honor to God. He is the head of my life. I've recently been saved, and He is the true reason I am here speaking on today. As well as I wanted to thank Marcy Adelson Schaefer for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all today. This is my first true speaking engagement, so I hope that you all have opened your minds to hear a dialogue that doesn't come from the usual person that is asked to stand in front of you. I just recently won my first election, and I say first because now I know for sure there will be many more. So, the reason I say that I am not the usual person is because before voting for myself, I had never voted for anyone before. Actually, when I was asked about the fact that I was running for a position in office, yet I had never exercised my right to vote, at least not in Champaign County, I truly had some explaining to do. So I mentioned how I've always felt that policies and systems were just unfair, and all of these rules were put in place for decades and centuries before to hinder Black and brown folks, women, and anyone that didn't match their ideal picture of what an American was and should be. In fact, this same country that my ancestors built, the government made sure that the slave owners and their kids and their kids and their kids would be against us too. And it didn't matter if I voted or not, because the government is just going to do what they're going to do. And that's when I realized I had given up. Not only had I given up on those that fought and suffered before me, but I had given up on myself. I had given up on my own voice. And I was just tired of not giving my voice purpose and reason. So I proved myself right because my voice meant something. I went out there, I put myself into a playing field that I know was only built against me, and I won. A Black woman, Afro-Latina, non-voter, single mother living in poverty. I won. I won to be the voice of the underrepresented, the underserved, and those not educated on their rights to vote. On the day that I won, March 17th, 2026, that is the day that I became my own hero. John Lewis should be, and I assume is a hero to us all. His many years of suffering, leading, educating, and being the example is why we have to band together as one to fight against what the SAVE Act is trying to do to the American citizens today. You see, John Lewis has won many awards for his commitment to civil rights, leadership, and has been honored today at a number of universities. They've implemented programs in his name. But I know wholeheartedly the best reward to him now in heaven and even when he was still present with us, was his influence to get others fired up for the good trouble. It truly takes a village, and I believe John Lewis knew that. He exemplified that by working closely with many other well-known activists, marching together with Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s, being a part of the team of the Big Six. James Lawson was an inspiration to him and taught him how to use peaceful protests, as well as Rosa Parks, teaching him and inspiring him for the good trouble and the rules of nonviolence. It truly takes a village, and that's when I ask, who's in your village? We have to understand everyone's village doesn't look the same. Even though we all know when I say it takes a village, that means a support system, resources, but that also means inspiration, influence, encouragement, therapy, a safe space. And when our community doesn't feel safe, who do you reach out to? Where do you go? And if I don't know, how will I find this out? Now, I believe that no one person can get all non-voters registered, or no one person can get all those that lack the literacy or education on what voting is, the importance of it. It will take us all. When I look around at my village, I see men and women of different ethnicities, different cultural backgrounds. We all have one thing in common. We want the violence to stop. We would like for there to be equity amongst Black and brown women, Black and brown families, Black and brown boys, those that have different sexual or pronouns. We're all looking for the same thing, and that is equity. When it comes to voting, as I said before, no one person can get all the non-voters registered. But we have to start somewhere, and it starts in your village. I asked Terry Maher when we sat down, had she ever visited this store? I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it. It's called the Golden Hour. It's where the bread store used to once be, and it is located right behind the Apostolic Church I attended as a young girl. Now, that is a local mart. You can get food, snacks, toilet paper, tobacco. But one day, I saw that there was a group of men signing up the people in that community for a discount for their Ameren bill. And in exchange, they gave them free AirPods. And as me and Terry were sitting down, and no, Terry had not been to the Golden Hour yet. Not as it's the Golden Hour, maybe when it was the bread store. And I explained to her the importance of being centered there for any type of information. In that community, some kids go there on their own to get snacks. Some might be attracted to the free AirPods to get a discount on their Ameren bill. And I got the idea that obviously we need incentives. Some things will inspire folks to get out. So if it's free AirPods, then we might need to get some free AirPods instead of registering for voting right in front of Golden Hour. We also talked during lunch about how when she canvassed in the area, that sometimes children and young adults would be a little apprehensive to see Terry at the door. So I explained to Terry, well, how often do you think a white woman comes and knocks on the door in Garden Hills and it's not for trouble? It's not to look into what's going on in your home, and maybe they're not there to be informative. The reason that a village matters in all different colors, shapes, and sizes is because I would love for people who look like me to become more comfortable with people that look like Terry coming to their doorstep, whether that's to get a signature for a petition to put their neighbor on the ballot, or that is to educate them on voting rights, or to let them know about resources that are now available. I also want to mention that a village is important because we have to encourage others to expand their minds, even though we have different beliefs and come from different backgrounds. We have to be non-judgmental. So where one may feel like the tobacco store is not the place to go and get new voters because those people don't vote. But that's the exact place we should be because those people don't vote. And I say this to also say, while having dialogue with the folks in Golden Hour, not one, not two, but 3 men told me they could not vote because they were felons, and that was untrue. So I always say maybe the inappropriate spaces are the most appropriate spaces, and that's how we can use those spaces as a bridge to more important topics. When you are building your village, you also have to know that association matters. So maybe me and my friends have different interests now that I'm into politics and policies and things that make more sense. But if I can relate to my homegirl over a Real Housewives of Atlanta episode and say, hey, did you know that Portia Williams' grandfather is Jose Williams? And if my homegirl is wondering, who is Jose Williams? Then I can tell her, oh, he worked firsthand with John Lewis during the Civil Rights Act. Now, me and my friend, who would usually talk about what's going on with Shamia and Portia, we're now talking about John Lewis, Good Trouble, and why Good Trouble Living On is so important. Uncomfortable spaces invite informative conversations. If my village of friends are only going to watch parties for baddies, then I can inspire them now to come with me to board meetings. We can turn this into a housewife episode. Trust me. Also, whenever you're building your village, as I said, it's not always going to look like another person's village, and maybe everyone in your village doesn't look the same. Something that's been very important to me recently is making sure that the white people in my village are my allies, not my enemies. I want them to be able to speak up when I'm present or when I'm not. I want them to know that it's okay to understand that you will not understand, but understand that. John Lewis spoke on taking action, and to all of my white allies. When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something. You have to do something. And I've made a commitment to myself that while building my village, that if someone is in my village and they are not Black or brown, that they have to make that same commitment or I do not have space for them. This might be uncomfortable, but in order for us to move in the direction that we are all wanting to go into, we have to start cutting those folks off. Let them stick out like a sore thumb. So when Marcy asked me the name of my speech, I said it takes a village, and mindset frames perspective. Because I'm not only asking for white allies, I'm asking for more Black and brown folk to believe in Black excellence, to come together when it really matters. As I said before, we can have a housewife reunion party, but we also need to make sure that we are educating our folks on who Portia Williams' grandfather is, what he did, what he stood for, why he stood hand in hand with John Lewis, collaborating with young students such as Diane Nash, Bernard Lafayette, and James Bevel. They formed the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. When it comes down to looking at things from different perspectives, I have had to put myself in that seat. I have approached young men during my fight against gun violence with masks over their heads and sweatshirts. And I just tell them, take it off. And I've had some backlash. I've had parents give me history lessons on, well, they have always told us what to wear. And I believe you, and we can get there. But if we're going to educate on they've always told us what to wear, then we have to also educate on why we are where we are today. So, honey, I understand that you want to look like Little Dirk, but Little Dirk is really in jail for a real murder. And when you realize that the village that your children are starting to lean on are these rappers, this is the influence. You have to let them know that is for entertainment. This is real life. But when I look at it from their perspective, because I have to put myself in their shoes, and they've had classmates, cousins, brothers gunned down by kids that they used to play at the splash pad with just 4 or 5 years before, it makes you wonder, why are they walking around with a mask on? Do they really want to be looked at as tough, or are they fearful of their own peers? See, I once wanted to blame parents. I also wanted to blame the students. They're choosing this. They know this. But then I said, have I ever lived that experience? How can I relate? How can I put myself in their shoes? So if you were a young 12-year-old boy and your cousin was shot and killed by your fake cousin, what do you do now? Do you just walk around with your face being shown in a little old town of Champaign-Urbana where everybody knows your name, your mom, your grandma? Or now, do you change up your moves, your villages, the way that you present yourself so that you're not easily identified? I don't live all experiences that Afro-Latinas do. I actually have to fight sometimes for people to believe that I'm Puerto Rican outside of the fact that my last name is Figueroa. Why? Because I don't look Puerto Rican. I'm not fair-skinned and long, straight hair like my cousin Demaira. But does that mean that I don't have the Boricua blood in my veins? Does that mean that I don't identify and relate to someone that looks more Puerto Rican than I do? Whenever it came down to me having a conversation with some students about gun violence, I never once brought up legislation. I am preaching nonviolence, but when it comes to guns, I've never once brought up the laws behind them until recently. I had a panel with 5 young men, and I had 5 grown men that looked just like them in that room, and a couple of moms. And we had dinner, and I had the kids sit at the front, and the adults sit in the audience. The reason was because I wanted them to finally have a voice. We've come up with basketball clinics, after-school programs, manhood training camps. But have we taken the time to ask these kids what they need from us? Have we asked them what they think would be a solution to the violence in their backyards? One of the boys said, "There will be no solution, Miss Chyna. It'll just keep going on and on." That really broke my heart, but I don't like to hear no. So another one said, "As soon as they make it open carry in Illinois, then the killings will stop." Well, that let me know one thing. They know a little bit about the laws, because they know that they can't open carry here, and they know that they can in Indiana. And they also told me that they know they can get a gun with an ID in Indiana, but you have to have a FOID card here in Illinois. So when I asked them, okay, so what if I come up with a program where we sign you up for your FOID cards, you learn how to safely handle firearms, you know how to assemble them, clean them, load them. What do you guys think about that? They all said no. I feel like I should have taken more of that as an opportunity to educate them on voting rights, the importance of registering to vote, and the laws built against them per state as opposed to a federal level. When it comes to John Lewis speaking on the right to vote, he said the vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have. So I had to ask myself, why did I never correlate laws, me putting together non-gun violence events, and the right to vote? Because those all go hand in hand. So, with me also saying voting, gun violence, and education going hand in hand, that's back to the influence of rap music. There was some videos back in the early 2000s where artists pushed the idea of voting, where artists pushed the idea of being tested for AIDS. As a whole, the entertainment industry got behind what our goals were as a country. I put a Facebook status up, and luckily I spoke with my friend before this presentation, and she said, "Read the room," because I said, "I'm gonna play that song," and she was like, "I don't think so." So, in your free time, and these new rap names, I swear I'm not as old as I'm sounding, but there's a guy, and his name is Von Off, OTF 1700, some derivative of that. And he has a song, and the title of it is Dead in Asterisk GGAS. I played this in the panel with those 5 young boys. And when I say they got antsy because they wanted to rap it, but they knew I was gonna look at them out the side of my eye. But instead, I said, go ahead, rap the song. I want them to see how you know all these words. I will sum up this song for you, because being a gangster is way different than it was in the 80s these days. This song is not only promoting violence, but it also teaches the kids the levels of the violence. There is a thing called benching. And when the head shooter sends the store runner, and I can't educate you guys on what all this is, so just take notes and look into it later. But when the head shooter sends the store runner on his first mission, and he doesn't do well or score, they bench him. So what it has happened is these villages have turned into young boys that are teaching each other how to become killers. And they do it by getting a brotherhood, and if you are a killer, you are the man. And you are even more of the man if you did not shoot him out of a car. If you got out and you walked him down, you are the man. But if you miss, they're gonna bench you. And benching you is sending you back to store runner. And so I said, okay, how do I take control of this? How do I get to the store runners? Because those are the ones that haven't already decided that being a killer is something that they're gonna be. So I look around at groups of boys and I go out and I grab all of them. Even the ones that cuss me out and call me names. And sometimes I cuss them back out. No, I'm just kidding. But sometimes I think, is that the approach? Because I don't know if you guys ever tried to talk to a group of young boys, but they are not so nice to you when you're nice. But when you're nice nasty, they want to know who you are and what you're about. So I say all of this to say that the influence of the rap music alone can make these kids change the trajectory of their future. So I said, okay, I know what to do. I gotta start playing I Can by Nas when I'm around them. And I gotta start playing Stump by Kirk Franklin, because that is my jam. I don't know about y'all. And I have to explain to them the significance of their vote. And that brings me back to me and what I said in the beginning. I had never voted before, yet I won an election. I won an election and I had never voted before. And I was convinced that my vote didn't matter and that, see, Donald Trump the president again. But then I get to be somebody for these kids, because last summer the kids said, well, Miss Chyna, who are you? And what do you do? And I remember getting in the car with James and saying, I'm just nobody. Who am I gonna tell them I am? But my village, my mindset got me this year to be somebody. And now I can come to them and say, I'm the county board rep of District 6. And trust me, they don't know what that is. Because they have been calling me the city councilor for 2 months, and I didn't know we had a city councilor. But I am wearing that hat and whatever. And I allowed them to see me 1 year as nobody and the next year as somebody. And I said, this could be you. And if you start now, you don't have to wait till you're 30 to be somebody. You can be somebody right out of school, right out of high school, right out of college. I also tell the kids, you don't have to go to college, but you have to live. I don't expect anything from them but to live. Choose life. Influence is everything. Now, also, I don't know if you guys know, but whenever they lose their friends, they start to put things on their friends, on my cousin, on Fornem. So I always tell them, I wear an M on my neck because I lost my best friend, Miko Loxley. He was killed in Maryland, 25 years young. I never imagined that I would lose him in that way. But everything I do, that I do positive, that's for Miko. So when they're cussing me out at the library, I say, and then you put it on your cousin. Your cousin is not okay with you cussing me out and using his name. You didn't go get $1 million in his name. And I make sure that they put some type of positive influence around their friend's name. Do something good in your friend's name. Go far in life so you can buy a building and dedicate the waterfall to your friend. But these kids don't know that they can do that because the influences around them haven't told them that anymore. I'm 33 years young and I feel old most days. But when I was 10 and I attended Canaan Academy, it was crucial to learn the history of America, crucial to learn about John Lewis, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and who did you want to be out of those three? It was crucial to learn how we got here. We have to stop being afraid of calling each other out. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you guys have attended, but the City of Champaign has an event on the second Saturday called The Beat. And after The Beat, I ran into my friend's kid brother, and I did a little dance, and it got put on Facebook. And I remember calling Rita like, oh my gosh, this video has 1,800 views, and I was getting down on it, and people are gonna judge me. And then I called Rita back and said, oh my God, Rita, this has 20,000 views. And then I called Rita back and said, Rita, it's at 38,000 views. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But then I thought, wow, 38,000 views on my video? I only got 987 votes in March. And I just thought how that video was gonna influence, and I swear I was all torn up. In the beginning, I was afraid of how I was gonna show my face. And then I had to start looking at the comments. But do you know, some of those people in those comments were complimenting me? And it's always been the joke in my family that I was Jessica Simpson, so I don't have no rhythm. Not Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson. So I then realized, do you know how quick negativity gets passed around? Some of my constituents was like, yes, she gets my vote because she can relate to us. And some folks said, well, I don't want her representing me, and my constituents tore them people up. I said, okay. But I need every single one of you that live in my district to show up and vote. Some of those folks said to me, I don't even know if I'm registered to vote. How do I vote? I had a girl from Muhammad say, I voted for you. I just let her lie to me because she can't vote for me. I'm for District 6, but thank you very much. And so I said, I am going to start to use every single time my name is thrown around, that video is shared or talked about, as my platform to speak positive about what we need to talk about. Well, girl, are you registered to vote? I got a packet right here. And do you know what we're talking about? And when they ask questions about what's going on in the schools, I say, come with me to a school board meeting. Another thing that matters about mindset, framing your perspective, is that some folks don't think that they're well-spoken enough to go to a meeting. So I don't allow any negative talk. I have used myself as a bridge to the resources already in my community. And every time someone says, I just can't get the help, I say, you're not going to if you think that way. You have to say, they are going to help me today. And if it doesn't work out for me, it'll work out for me tomorrow. Because your mindset frames your perspective. If you go out and you say, well, SAVE Act is going to pass, guess what? It will. But if we go out and we fight for them to make some hard decisions when it comes to SAVE, and really put some time and effort, and really educate our neighbors on their rights to vote, on their abilities to vote, the many different ways, then we can, as a whole, band together to make sure that we all have liberty and justice for us all. John Lewis, he fought the good fight. He did it. He paved the way. And now it's our jobs to go on, keep it going. Barack Obama spoke on John Lewis. He called Lewis a man of unbreakable perseverance. He said that he embodied that most Americans of ideas, that idea that any of us ordinary people without rank or wealth or title or fame can somehow point out the imperfections of this nation. And we can come together and challenge the status quo and decide that it is in our power to remake this country that we love until it more closely aligns with our highest ideals. So, as I said before, I will use my title. I will use my rank to my advantage. Where we need to change policies, where we need to educate, whether it's a Real Housewife of Atlanta episode, correlation, my dancing video, or baddies, I will use any way to start the conversation and gear it towards stopping gun violence, promoting education for voting rights. John Lewis said, when dealing with hate, never give up, never give in, never become hostile. Hate is too big of a burden to bear. We must honor John Lewis by doing what he did best, and that was showing up with compassion, standing up with courage, and never backing down in the pursuit of justice. As he always said, get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of America. Thank you. Did we have any questions? No. Oh. Absolutely not, but just look on Facebook. It's I swear to you, when I called Rita and it had the 1,200 views, I thought that was something. But what'd you say? I don't, and I swear it gets better. That wasn't really that good of a dance. Yes.
I just had a comment, and then I did have one question. And so when you talked about incentives for people to vote, there are other people who kind of think that as well. So I know there's a pastor in Chicago, Trinity United Church, Pastor Otis Moss, and he talked about if you have HBCUs and your admission to a step show, it's to show your registration card or to register to vote. Or maybe there's a time when someone gets free haircuts, and you have to show your registration card or register to vote. So that's not a bad idea. We just have to be creative and figure out how we can do that.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think that, just like you said, using your voter registration card for step shows, or, we've got our American Legion post. So we could say, if you have your voter registration card, instead of the entry being $10, it could be $5, when realistically they only charge $5. So let's, we just have to really think about ways, because honestly, those lines are out the door when they are given the free AirPod or tablet for a discount on your Ameren bill, where I've even kind of messed up their sale because I'm like, well, what's the rate you're signing us up for? Because I don't want to, I don't want to lock myself in, and do you got a cancellation fee? And then they're like, where did this lady come from? Because they were getting everybody to sign up with the AirPods. So I finally just said, obviously, even though this is going to help us all to go out and exercise the right to vote, we just need to come up with some sort of incentive, whether it's to register or following up. Because, like I said, maybe free fries at Wooden Hog or free snack, something with your register. Show me that you went out and voted or something so that we can get more folks out to do it and to even educate themselves on it.
So in terms of if you're voting, so people come back tomorrow for that. So we'll have information on if you're voting, how to vote and all that kind of good stuff. But then the other question that I have for you was, when you offered for the young men to teach them how to do gun violence safety, like teaching how to, did you ask them why they said no, they didn't want that?
They would not tell me, but my inference is because they don't want me to know that they already handle them. So there was a fatal shooting where one kid had the really cool gun. I'll have to find the article, and he got killed by his friend because the friends wanted his really cool gun. It was an FN, and I can talk to those boys, and they know the difference in a Smith & Wesson, a Glock, a FN. So I kind of play with them like this. I'm like, yeah, I got a high point, and they're chuckling in the corner, and I'm like, why are you laughing? What's wrong with my high point 9mm? Because I know you know that a high point is not worth anything. It's gonna jam, it's plastic, but how do you know that? So I think that, yes, and I say this to Rita all the time, I think the kids do think that they have us bamboozled. That's why I don't mind meeting them where they're at. I come right up singing the NBA Youngboy. I know all the words and the little dance, so that then they're like, oh, she's cool. And then I'm like, I try to relate and talk to them. So I think once you've built that kind of relationship, yes, they don't want you to know that they know a thing about guns. They want you to think that they're just good, they don't do anything. But I have one that I mentor, and before the panel, I don't know if you all remember, it was just a shoot. Well, it's been 3 now, but on the north end of Champaign, there was a shooting, and the 2 kids that were walking down the street was one of the kids that were coming to my panel. So I said, the last time that I saw you, X was going on, and now this time. So Miss Chyna is gonna stop thinking that it's a coincidence that this is happening, and I'm gonna need you to be honest with me. And like I said, I don't have many expectations of them, but to live. Rev.
So when we gonna move this out the hood?
What'd you say?
When we gonna move this out the hood? I appreciate your presentation, but when we talk about changing narratives, always showing them as a different part of the penitentiary, the hood, the construct. So what is your plan for showing them life outside of the hood? Because sometimes meeting people where they're at allows them to stay there. So how do you show them the other side of the tracks? How do you show them the HBCU, the Black excellence? You started out talking about that, but then we went right back to the, my wife in here? No. We went right back to the nigga shit. So how we gonna move past that to get them to someplace elevated? Because what I see in all of these gun violence conversations, community conversations, is we're trying to figure out a way to make clean mud. And so how do we truly wash the clothes?
So I'm glad you asked that. I'm still figuring it out. But when I meet them where they're at, like I said, I'll do the rap song, letting them know that I know the artist and all the words and the dances. But then I also try to expose them by the glitz and glam and the things that they've been exposed to and glamorized by. So whether it's high-end luxury designer or money, and I also help them understand that only to get money and to buy those things or to go on these nice trips and to go to college and to have yourself in the mind frame of that is that you have to change who you're around so you can change who you're around. And that everybody's not going to come with them. So I also try to band with like Sam Smith. He and I were just talking about taking a group of kids that I frequent just to Chicago. Because I told the kids, when have y'all gone on a beach day to Chicago? And they say never. But those small things can actually expound their mind to the point where they will want to reach for that. And that's why that is the hardest part, and like you said, getting it out of the hood. Because when I meet them where they're at, to relate to them and then take them somewhere, they still have to go back home. And for some reason, when you look a certain way or you talk a certain way, they assume that your struggles are not similar to them or that you can't relate to them. I had a lady ask me, was I well off? We were both at the DHS office. I don't know what, I have my packet there, but she thought that I didn't need or have the need for Medicaid or food stamps. And my guess maybe be the way I talk, walk, or carry myself. And so that's why, like I said, I try to meet folks where they're